who hasn't seen it yet, but I basically put almost 24 hours of work into this in 2 days. I worked from about 8 a.m. to, or excuse me, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Tuesday and a Wednesday. And then I woke up at 10:30 on Wednesday and worked from 10:30 in the morning to 12:30 at night. The following morning, I guess, 12:30 the following morning. And I only took a break for lunch and dinner. So we put in a lot of time and a lot of effort getting the website. I literally have remade every thumbnail on the website. I went through and really customized the crap out of it. So I'm really happy with how it came out. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. It was such a fun project as long as it took. It was a really fun project, and I don't think I could be any happier with how the website looks. Like, even like the little things like the support section now is super, super cool. It's just everything just looks really great, and I'm just really happy with it. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as me. It was a labor of love. So I'm very, very happy with it. But now, enough of me talking about the website and how great I think it looks now. Let's get into the content. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of everything today because we are going to stick this video up on YouTube. We're going to talk about the Necromancer. We're going to talk about the Elsweyr zone and the dragon attacks, guild finder info, Sunspire, the new gear sets, the new target dummy. In terms of the website stuff, I know there was a bunch of people who put articles out. I only did an article on the Necromancer. I felt that everything else would be better here in this video that I'm making for YouTube. Everything else, or the Necromancer, I felt was the best thing for the website, and that's what I'm actually going to start with. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, so hopefully you guys can read that a little bit better. Alrighty, so the Necromancer is here. They are here, and they are ready to party. So for those of you who obviously don't know, Necromancers obviously are going to focus around corpses and the undead. And, you know, in terms of how they fit into test lore, you know, generally Necromancers are frowned upon. That, you know, necromancy as a practice is frowned upon. So they incorporated that into the skills, and certain skills are actually considered criminal acts by justice NPCs. So you can't, you know, raise, you know, Jimmy from the dead inside of a capital city, or the guards are going to be a little bit tilted about that. So certain skills are considered criminal acts. You'll get like a 1,000 gold bounty or something and start getting attacked. And I know some people were complaining about this, like, it's a really cool RP element. I like it. And do you really need to twitch out your summons when you're in Mournhold? You know, like, you don't need to. It's a really cool thing. Like, you're not, you're not like losing out on any gameplay, but not being able to, you know, sit in Mournhold with your pets out for a couple seconds. So I don't know. I like this, and I think it's a really cool addition, and it gives the class something very, very unique and RP-esque to it. So I very much like it. The Necromancer does focus really heavily on corpse gameplay. So it really, you do take dead bodies and use them to your advantage. Your allies' dead bodies, your enemies' dead bodies, and some of your skills can actually create dead bodies themselves. So it's not like you have to wait for people or enemies to die before you can start using certain skills. You have to wait for like a corpse to die, or a one of your summons to die to create a corpse, but still, you know, you don't have to just rely on things around you. And they either will cause certain skills to be able to be used, or they'll make certain skills stronger. And the biggest issue that I had with Necromancer was really the only glaring issue I had, was that the corpse targeting I didn't think was that great. Especially in PvP, the corpse targeting felt really clunky. Like, I think the analogy I've kept using is like, if a gnat's pinky toe is in front of your target reticle, you won't be able to target the corpse. So it just felt really clunky, and everyone basically kind of agreed on that, and everyone felt the same way about it. So they did say that they were going to work on it, and they're going to try to fix it and make it more better. And I'm hoping they do kind of something conal, because, you know, you do need to aim and point at certain corpses, because if there's a shit ton of corpses around, you obviously want a specific one to do something. So hopefully they do some sort of conal targeting instead of just like, I have to be looking directly at that dead body. I think it'll be way easier to use. And in terms of the pets and how they work, think of like Summon Shade. You know, so like when you summon Shade, right, it just it just does its thing. You summon it, and it does its thing. That's the exact same type of way that the Necromancer pets are going to work. You're going to summon them, and they're going to do their thing. It's not like the Sork pets, but, you know, where you have to control them and do all this stuff. It is fire and forget, like they said. Can a corpse created by a Necromancer be used, drained, or, wow, I can't read this, by the Templar Repentance ability? That would be a nice synergy. That I don't know. That is a good question. I don't know. I didn't test that. Empress, thank you for the follow. I did not test that. I don't know if it's considered a dead body for the repentance ability in the same way it's considered a dead body for the necro abilities. That would be something very interesting. No one played a Templar while we were there. So that would be a cool interaction. I'd be interested to see. Okay, so we're gonna move into the skill lines now. Of this 3, it's kind of similar to the Warden in the respect that 1 line's for damage, 1 line's for tanking, and 1 line's for healing. But let me tell you, I really the class is well designed. I know so many people are like, they're overpowered. They're gonna be strong upon release, obviously. And certain things do need to be tuned, I think, and I'm going to talk about specific ones that I do think need to be tuned, and I'm going to talk about some stuff that people are complaining about that I don't think needs to be complained about. But just because their passives are good and strong doesn't mean we should want them necessarily nerfed. Like, I'd rather see the passives of other classes continue to be buffed than to be like, wow, look at all these great things they've done with the Necromancer passives. Let's nerf them. Like, I don't know. To me, when I was looking at the passives, like, I was just like, wow, this is awesome. Like, this is amazing. Vicky Poo and Dead Ghost, thank you for the follows. But anyway, let me actually get into it. So the first passive we have is reusable parts. When an enemy dies within 4 seconds of being damaged from one of your Necromancer abilities, your next Blast Bone, Skeletal Mage, or Spirit Mender cast is free. So those are 3 various corpse summoning skills that you can use. But, you know, if an enemy dies, you can use your next one for free. I'll go over those skills a little bit later. Death Knell increases your critical strike chance against enemies under 25% by X% for each Gravelord ability slotted. You're going to notice that certain times I say X% because Zoss requested that we say like X% or this skill does X damage because it wasn't tuned when we went. They had to tune it still. So the numbers that we saw were probably not going to be the numbers that were final. This is really good. This is the type of passive execute that I wanted them to give DK. But they did something, not exactly this specific one, but this is what I like. You know, a passive execute, so, you know, you have passive damage increase for enemies under a percentage health. Kefka, thank you for the follow. I'm actually going to disable my alerts right now, just so that they don't have to go off throughout the whole video, and then I'll catch up at the end. Rapid Rot increases your damage done with dots by X%. Perfect for the class fantasy. So we have Ultimate Frozen Colossus. Let me see if I can zoom in actually a little bit more. You know, my body's cutting it off a little bit, but there we go. Ultimate Frozen Colossus. Unleash a frostbitten flesh colossus to pulverize the enemies in the area. The colossus smashes the ground 3 times, dealing X frost damage with each smash. Each smash applies major vulnerability to enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing the damage taken by 30%. Cast is instant. Target is a ground targeting. Range is 28 meters. Radius is 8 meters. Duration is 2 seconds. Cost is 150, and this is considered a criminal act. Now, Glacial Colossus, the final smash will stun all enemies hit, and the Pestilent Colossus deals disease damage, and the Colossus deals more damage with each smash. Now, I know a bunch of people I saw complaining like, oh my god, this is so overpowered, this is so strong, it's going to be impossible to dodge. Take it from somebody who's played with it, it's very easy to dodge. It is very, very telegraphed. The Flesh Colossus is fucking massive. It is huge. Like, in 8 meters is the range of a dodge roll. So if you see that thing come out of the ground, yeah, you might get hit by 1 smack, but you'll be able to dodge roll the second one easily. And that's where the majority of the damage, as you can see, for the Pestilent Colossus and for the Glacial Colossus, that's where the majority of the utility or the damage comes from, is that second smash. But honestly, I don't think I personally felt that the ultimate was very balanced in terms of from a PvP perspective. It was like if I didn't kind of combo it with a root or with a stun people were easily able to dodge it, unless we were in a choke point or it was a huge AoE in the middle. People were able to dodge this. In terms of the major vulnerability, I personally like it. It's a unique debuff that I don't think we've seen from a class. And I think it's really, really cool that we now have something that brings it. You know, there's a reason now to bring a Necro to a trial, in terms of the buff and debuff system. I think maybe if 3 seconds ends up being too much, we could lower it to 2. You know, 2 seconds per enemy hit for 2 seconds. So, but otherwise, to me, the skill felt okay when I was there and I was playing with it. I don't really have any huge complaints with it. So we have Flame Skull. Lob an explosive skull at an enemy, dealing X flame damage. It's an instant cast, target enemy 28 meters, and it obviously costs Magicka. This is going to be your range spammable for either Magicka or Stamina. So for the Magicka, we have Ricochet Skull. So every third cast of this ability will deal 20% increased damage and will bounce up to 2 times. And the Venom Skull converts into a Stamina ability. It deals poison damage. Casting any Necromancer ability counts towards the third cast. Standard spammables. They're very good. They felt very powerful to use, and I really like them. The Blast Bones. Oh, this thing is strong as shit, dude. Let me tell you. Summon a flaming skeleton from the ground after 2.5 seconds. The skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close to them, dealing X flame damage to all enemies nearby. Creates a corpse upon death. It's an instant cast, enemy target, 28 meters range, 6 meter radius, cost Magicka, and it's considered a criminal act. I already explained the criminal act at the beginning. I'll go over it one more time, but I don't want to repeat myself 26 times because this is going to go on YouTube. Criminal act means that you will cause justice NPCs to give you a bounty, and you will become kill on sight for using Necromancer skills. Because like I said earlier, you can't raise little Jimmy from the dead when you're inside a Mournhold. So in terms of our morphs here, we have Stalking Blast Bones. Each second the skeleton spends chasing the target increases the damage of the explosion by X% up to a maximum of X%. So it's going to get more and more damage up to a cap. And then it can Blighted Blast Bones converts into a stamina ability and deals disease damage, reducing healing received on enemy's hit, and it applies Major Defile for 5 seconds. Dude, this thing hit like a fucking bus. Like, when I used this in PvP, if I was chasing somebody down, I summoned a Blast Bones and it chased after him, and when it reached him, it does so much damage. It felt like a very satisfying skill to use. It's basically the big burst skill from the class, but it can be countered. There is counterplay to it. The Blast Bones can be targeted and killed by enemies. So if the Blast Bones is actually running at you, you can kill it and you can attack it. So, and then I don't believe that its damage will be dealt, or it might just deal the damage before it gets to you. I don't exactly remember, but it might just flop to the ground. But you can target it and you can kill it, so there is counterplay, which is very nice. Boneyard. Desecrate the ground to target location, dealing frost damage over 10 seconds. Consumes a corpse on cast to deal 20% more frost damage. An ally standing in the graveyard can activate the Grave Robber synergy, dealing frost damage to enemies in the area and healing you for damage done. It's a 28 meter ground AoE with a 6 meter radius, 10-second duration, and it costs Magicka. Now, if you have Avid Boneyard, you can use your own synergy. And Unnerving Boneyard reduces the resistances of enemies in the area by applying Major Breach and Fraction. Let me tell you, using your own synergy with this skill was really, really cool. The effect from it was really, really nice, and it's just, you know, it's the class's ground AoE, but I really liked it. It was a very fun skill to use, and it's nice to be to see. It's got like just the way it played in the rotation. It was a really fun ability to use. When the skeleton reaches you, does it explode immediately or delay? When the skeleton reaches you, it jumps at you and then explodes. So it's immediate. It's not like it gets there, go, hey, what's up, and then it explodes. It explodes to you when it gets there. But yeah, this is the class's ground AoE. It's really good. It's fun to use. I enjoyed it. Skeletal Mage. Unearth a Skeletal Mage from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The mage attacks the closest enemy every 2 seconds, dealing shock damage. As you can see, there's a bit of fire, frost, and shock. There's a little bit of everything in the kit. Creates corpse upon death. It's an instant. Casts, target itself, lasts for 16 seconds, costs Magicka, and this is also a criminal act. Now, the Skeletal Mage cannot be targeted. The only of one of your summons that can be directly targeted is the Blast Bones, because it's running at somebody, but the Mage cannot. The Mage is kind of like the like I said, the summon shade in essence. Now, if you use the exploding mage, the mage deals damage around it after its full duration. The skeletal archer converts to a stamina ability and deals physical damage, and then the archer deals X% more damage with each attack. I liked this. I was worried that they were going to make the summons kind of way too tied to magicka, but they gave stamina an archer, which is super cool. That just plays into the style really well, and I'm glad to see that the stamina side of this class is going to have a really, really nice identity. Shocking Siphon, violently drain the last spark of life from a corpse, dealing shock damage over 12 seconds to all enemies around the corpse and between you and the corpse. Instant cast time, 28-meter range. It costs magicka. Mystic Siphon is you restore magicka while siphoning corpses, and Detonating Siphon is you converts into a stamina ability, deals disease damage, and then the corpse explodes at the end of the siphon. Let me tell you, man, I played a lot of magicka Necromancer when I was there, and I parsed and did a lot of work with the magicka Necromancer. Dude, Mystic Siphon gives so much magicka back. Like, when I was parsing on the dev dummy, which I'm going to talk about later, I literally had no sustain issues even once. Like, and I wasn't even playing a Breton. I was just being a Khajiit because Elsweyr. But this skill, really freaking good. Really good. You use like when I was doing my rotation, I used like a Blast Bones in my opening rotation to create the first corpse and then get the Mystic Siphon down. And then every time throughout my rotation, I would always have a fresh corpse hitting the ground right when it ran out. And it just works really well for the way that the class is. It's really, really nice. So next we have Bone Tyrant, which is the tank line, which is, I think, the flashy one with the Goliath that I'm going to be talking about. It's freaking awesome, dude. Death Gleaning is the first passive, and when a Bone Tyrant ability is slotted, whenever an enemy you are in combat with dies within 28 meters of you, you restore magic and stamina. This can occur once every 2 seconds. Disdain Harm reduces the damage you take from dots by X% while you have a Bone Tyrant ability active, and for PvP, you pretty much always will because your major resolve and ward is in this tree. Health Avarice, you increase your healing received by X% for each Bone Tyrant ability slotted. And Last Grasp increases your maximum health by X. There's passive max health in the class. Dude, it's super nice, man. I was super tanky even in PvE, and I didn't have like a single health cliff on any of my gear. It's really nice. Having the maximum health being the passives was really cool. Actives, we have the Bone Goliath transformation. Become a life-draining Bone Goliath, increasing your max health by a massive number for 20 seconds and immediately restoring health. Now, I can't say what the number is because, again, it can change. But when I was there, it was huge. You become literally an unstoppable force of death. It's awesome. While transformed, your light attacks restore X health, and your fully charged heavy attacks restore X more health. It's an instant self-target, 20 seconds, 300 ultimate, so it is expensive. You're going to have to, you become basically a god for 20 seconds, so it's going to be expensive. And it is a criminal act. Now, if you use the Ravenous Goliath Morph, you gain an aura that drains the health of nearby enemies, so it basically does X% of your max health as damage as a dot around you. And Pummeling Goliath gives you a conal AoE bash. So that is pretty cool. I heard that Gilliam made some weird PvP build based around the Conal Bash and was like trolling people with it, and it was super, super funny. But I didn't get a chance to use the Goliath in combat. I pretty much just used it outside of combat just to see what it looked like. But when we were doing BGs, like if you get a flag carrier as a Necromancer, make him the Bone Goliath. He's tough to take down, man. He obviously can be killed. He's not immortal, but it was tough. It was tough, as it should be. You're saving up 300 freaking ultimate for this morph. You should be tough to kill, and they were. So this was really, really, really satisfying skill to use, and the animation was amazing. We have Death Scythe. Slice into your enemy's life force, dealing X magic damage. You heal for X% of your max health for the first enemy hit, an additional X% of your max health for each additional enemy hit, up to 5 additional enemies. Instant cast, conal target, 7 meters, cost magicka. Swift Scythe gives you a hot, and Ruinous Scythe converts into a stamina ability and prevents healing done to your target. So it applies a healing absorption for 2 seconds. Note, this is not a major or a minor debuff. So this is the first skill that I'm going to talk about. Half of the discussion about this skill was kind of misguided, and the other half I agree with. So this is not necessary. This is how do I explain this? it's kind of a spammable, but it's also kind of not. You're not gonna want to use this obviously as a DPS because in PvE because the skull deals way more damage. This is used as a conal, like basically like a tank heal. You know, it's not really a spammable per se, but it deals a respectable amount of damage and does a shit ton of healing. I know when we were doing, I was running Scalecaller Peak with Zynode, Woler, and Kevduit, and we were able to run without a healer because Death Scythe just kept Woler topped off. And I know even he mentioned that it felt really overtuned as a tank skill in terms of the healing. But then I know Ninja said he didn't even have it slotted. But from what I saw of its use, I definitely think that the numbers that they had for Swift Scythe were a little overtuned. It was a strong skill. Now, I did try it for PvP. It does not as good for PvP as you'd think. When I gave it a shot, the damage from it was not nearly as much as the ranged skull. I found the ranged skull to be a better spammable, but Death Scythes obviously will make you way tankier, but the damage just it wasn't really there as much for PvP. Now, the main part that I had the issue with was Ruinous Scythe. So, a healing absorption not applied to the major or minor system scares me a little bit, especially when, you know, Stam can use this skill very frequently, you know, so you could basically go and the Necromancer has tons of Defile in it too, so you could use your Defile skills, use the Scythe, and then go in for a burst. And it's really strong. So I don't know if maybe they're going to want to make the healing absorption really little if they want to keep this mechanic, or they need to make it just like apply Defile of some sorts. Like, I think it's cool in theory, but I just feel like it, for the way the game is, it's just really like healing absorption like that is super crippling. It's super, super crippling because, you know, you have to heal to even get through the absorption, and if your heals are super debuffed, it's going to be really tough. Unfortunately, I don't have anything on the animations. I actually am going to, real quick, I know a couple people were asking me about the magic of the Necromancer animations because I know Zynode and a couple other people from EU had a bunch of videos with animations, but the reason that they had those was because they went to the EU press event and they were allowed to record gameplay there to show on YouTube and stuff when the embargo lifted, but when we went to ZOS for the testing, we were not allowed to record anything and put it on YouTube. So like I have some pictures and stuff, but even those I'm not allowed to share because they're pictures like of the screen, so I had to rewrite everything. So I'm kind of got shit out of luck there with being able to show certain stuff. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show any gameplay or stuff because I don't have any. I wasn't really allowed to record any and bring it back. You know, we were on the dev servers and stuff, so they didn't want us showing any of that stuff. So unfortunately, no, I don't have anything like that. The next one that we have is Summoner's Armor. So this is basically just your Major Resorvin ward, but it actually creates a corpse when it's done, which is very cool. So it'll help you get a corpse back, and it lasts for 18 seconds. Summoner's Armor reduces the amount of the cost of your necro summons by X%, and Beckoning Armor pulls in range enemies. So it's basically kind of like Swarm Mother, but it's not bad. So enemies that strike you with range attacks are pulled towards you once every 3 seconds. It was really cool to see this used. Really, really cool to see this used. I personally, when I played in PvP, I used Summoner's Armor because the extra sustain from the X% off the summoner, like off the summon skills, is really good. Because Beckoning Armor, when it does proc, it does count as a CC technically. But it was really cool to use. I like the concept of the pull being tied to the armor. It was really cool. I know a bunch of the people who tanked said that ad stacking was pretty easy with this. Do we know when the Elsweyr PTS is going live? No, we do not. Bitter Harvest. Sap the lingering life from fresh corpses, healing you for health and an additional health per corpse. 12-meter radius, instant cast. Each corpse you consume grants you major protection for 1 second. That's dead in pain and necrotic potency. Each corpse gives you X ultimate. Really good skill. I wasn't able to fit this into my bars anywhere, but I really wanted to. Both morphs for this are really good, but I like it. It's a good skill. It's a good skill. It's really cool. It was I think Zynode used it a lot, and even he said it was amazing to use. So just a good skill. Don't really have much to say about it. Bone Totem. Call forth an effigy of bone that gives minor protection to you and your allies for 8 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 8%. After 2 seconds, the totem instills fear in enemies, holding them in place, and that's a hard CC. It's a hard CC. It's not a root. I know it says holding them in place, but it is a fear. For 4 seconds. It's an instant ground cast. It lasts for 8 seconds. It's got a 6-meter radius, and it costs magicka. And the totem can be summoned for up to 28 meters away if you take remote totem. And agony totem gives a synergy, so it does damage and applies a dot and minor vulnerability. I heard some people saying that they thought this was overpowered, but I didn't really think it was. Like, the minor protection is cool, but you have to physically stand near the totem. As you can see, it's only a 6-meter radius. It's really small. And when you see someone toss this on the ground, like, yeah, it's an AoE stun, but it does have a delay on it, so you do have time to react to it. But to me, if I combined this a lot with the Goliath, so basically if there was a huge group of enemies, I tossed the Bone Totem, and right as the Bone Totem stun went off, I tossed the Colossus in there. So much damage, dude. So much freaking damage. Given that you play with the class, what role do you think best suits it? It does everything very well. I give Zoss a lot of credit. All the roles for the class felt and looked very, very good. They all were good. There really wasn't one area that I could say it was really weak in. It does everything very well. It's kind of like what they wanted the Warden to be, you know, and the because even right now, Wardens are pretty good at everything, but they wanted this class to not feel like the Warden in the respect that it's just the Warden spend so much time buffing themselves. They wanted it to feel different and where you actually feel like you're playing more, so to speak, and I believe they accomplished it. It was very, very fun to play. We have Grave Grass. So we do have a ground root. We do have a ground root for the class. That was one thing I was worried about, but they did give it to us. Grave Grasp. Summon skeletal claws on the ground, snaring your enemies by X% for 5 seconds and inflicting minor maim for 5 seconds, reducing their damage done by 15%. Empowering Grasp, so hitting you or your allies grants them an empower for 5 seconds, and if you hit your skeletal mage or mender, it enhances their effectiveness by X% for 5 seconds. And Ghostly Embrace will give you an immobilization on one enemy per patch for X seconds, because it kind of comes out like in little patches like this. It doesn't just go like, it comes out in little patches. But it's a good skill. I like it. Our last tree, Living Death, the healing path, the healing line, and there's actually a couple skills in here that just one really that I think needs to be nerfed, and they are pretty much going to. I obviously can't say anything definitively because obviously things are subject to change, but it's a pretty safe bet. So Undead Confederate, while you have a Necromancer summon active, your recoveries are increased. That's just awesome. It's good passive. Corpse Consumption. When you use an ability on a corpse, you generate Ultimate. This can occur once every 16 seconds. Near Death Experience. When you have a Living Death ability slotted, your critical strikes with all healing abilities is increased by up to 20% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. Just super good. And Curative Curse is while you have a negative effect on you, your healing done is increased by X%. It's just the passives from this tree are just so good. They're really, really good. Okay, the first skill I do think needs to be changed. The ultimate is Reanimate. Bring your allies back from the brink of death, resurrecting 3 allies at the target location. Cast time is instant. Target ground, range 28 meters, radius 12, cost 200 ultimate. Now, if you do use this skill on someone, you do not get the prompt to accept or decline the resurrection, and I like that. I like that they did that. Because if I'm getting resurrected by a Necromancer, I shouldn't have a choice. I should just be coming back to life. So that's how they treated it, and that's what they did, and I really, really like it. Real quick, Renewing Animation restores magic and stamina for every ally you resurrect. An animated Blast Bones consumes other corpses in the area up to 3 and summons Blast Bones for each one. Now, the thing with this ult in PvE that I was noticing that we were doing was that a lot of the people that use this as healers or even as tanks, they found themselves oftentimes maybe not using their ultimate because they wanted to hold on to the res in case someone died, you know, so they found themselves not using ultimates, which does make sense. You know, you want to save that for that primo moment, that primo location, that primo situation. The main issue where I see this ult being a problem isn't even in PvE. It's actually in PvP. Because if you, especially like as a smaller group, wipe a huge, like a good portion of a bigger group, and then for a Necromancer just be able to be like lol XD and res all those people, you know, that's gonna make it very difficult. So I personally think that they just need to make this skill cost more. For what it does, I think it's very cheap, especially renewing animation, and at least the numbers that they had while I was there, you restore a lot of resources. It wasn't a small amount. You restored a lot of resources. So I personally think that this skill might need to cost a little bit more. Maybe I'm talking like 250 or 300, but 200 to me is a little low. How is your resources after you get res by that all? It's pretty much like when you normally come out of a resurrection. It was pretty much the same. I was reading Rapid Rock Dismember and Death Knell passages earlier today. Is Necromancer going to be stronger than Magblade when it comes to PvE? I can't talk about like specific numbers because the class wasn't tuned when I was there. They didn't. That's the reason that there's no numbers displayed on my website. Why it's X and X% and X this and X that. Anybody that's showing numbers really shouldn't be because they're not tuned. I don't know if they tuned them for the press release. They might have, but at least what I had at my disposal, what I saw, the numbers were not tuned or changed yet. Do you lose vitality in a trial if they necro res you? I don't know. I would assume so. But truthfully, I do not know, but I'd have to assume so. But yeah. This I just think it needs to cost more. But otherwise, this is a really satisfying ult to use. Let me tell you, very, very satisfying. Bad Shogun. No, I have not. I'm still talking about Necromancer stuff. I'm going to be going over it later. Really quick, let me just tell the trial. It's going to probably start 15 minutes late. At core trial will be starting about 15 minutes late. Okay. Render flesh, sacrificing your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally in front of you for health, and but applying minor defile to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your healing received and your health recovery by 15%. So the issue with this is the fact that the defile can be purged. The defile can be purged. So that's, and you're going to see why that's a problem with the next skill. But resistant flesh grants resistance to the target equal half the amount healed. Blood sacrifice, consume a corpse to heal a second target. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that the minor defile can be purged, but with the next skill, I can kind of explain why. Expunge, embrace the power of death, removing up to 3 negative effects from yourself and restoring X magic or stamina over 5 seconds, whichever maximum is higher. This has no cost and is an instant cast. Expunge and Vivify also restores a small amount of your opposite resource, and Expunge and Modify, you restore more resources for each negative effect removed. So, if you used Expunge and Modify, combined with Render Flesh, you could use Render Flesh, burst heal yourself, and then for no cost, purge off the Defile, and give yourself resources. So it's like you heal myself for the skill, for no cost, purge off the only negative side effect, and then gain some of those resources back. And at one point, I had Wheeler and Gilliam standing behind me while I was playing in a BG, and I had, I think, 6 people or 7 people trying to kill just me. I was basically wearing my resistor build, but on the Magic Necromancer. And, like, the entire room was screaming at me to just fucking die. And literally, Wheeler and Gilliam were laughing. They were like, yeah, we need to nerf this skill. So now, obviously can't confirm it, but one thing that they were considering was giving this some sort of cost. If you have, so for example, right, if you have no negative effects on you and you use Expunge and Modify, for example, you will restore the resources, but it's going to cost you some health if you have nothing that you can purge. If you can successfully purge, you will purge, but you won't restore the resources. So that was just kind of one idea that they were tossing around, and there was some others mentioned. But this skill will most likely, I would imagine, be changed. In its current state, it's way too strong. But it was really fun to use, I can tell you that. From my perspective, it was really fun to use. Life amid death. Release residual fragments of fallen souls at the target location, healing you and your allies for X health. Consumes a corpse on cast to continue to heal you and your allies in the area for X seconds. I didn't really get to use this skill at all. Enduring death can consume multiple corpses to increase the duration of the haunt by up to 5 seconds or up to 5 corpses, and each corpse extends the duration by 5 seconds, so 25 possible seconds. Renewing on where is this website? Double. What do you mean? Where is dotsgaming.com? It's at dotsgaming.com, dude. Come on. Renewing on death consumes the corpse to also purge and remove 3 negative effects. So this is just like you'll pretty much won't be slotting this unless you're a healer. I couldn't find a spot for this anywhere for PvP or anything. Now, one thing I like is that if you are a healer, you're not going to miss out on the pet train. So you do have one. There's a spirit mender. Conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you for every 2 seconds, restoring health. Creates a corpse upon death, and this lasts for 16 seconds, and it is a criminal act. Now, what's really cool, what my favorite one was Spirit Guardian. While active, X% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. And the spirit's not targetable, so it's not like they can kill the spirit, but you just can like literally have like X% of your damage just like transferred to the spirit, which is super fucking cool. And then the other thing is Intensive Mender. The spirit heals for 3 times the amount, but lasts half as long. So this was really good. This was really fun to use. Restoring Tether. Siphon the last remnants of life from a corpse, healing for X over 12 seconds to yourself and allies in between you and the corpse. Braided Tether heals allies in a radius around you, and Mortal Coil restores stamina while siphoning the corpse. So those are all the Necro skills. General feelings, the class was super fun to play. Like, I had a great time playing the class. It was just incredibly fun. It was a great experience, and I'll definitely be playing one. Whether or not it's going to be a main or not, I don't know, but I'm definitely going to be playing one. It was so fun. The class was so fun. Whether or not I'm going to make a Magica or a Stamina Necromancer, I don't really know. Stamina looked really fun from what I saw Kev and Zyno doing. I had a great time with Maj, but I'm going to kind of wait to see how it develops and as Elsweyr gets closer, what I'm going to do. But the best part about the class, I think, is that it's great at healing, it's great at tanking, it's great at Stam DPS, it's great at Maj DPS, and even when I was going to make my PvP builds, there were so many skills I wanted to incorporate but didn't have the bar space for. And I liked that because you have choice. You know, you have a lot of choices and you can build in a lot of different ways. So I think they did a really good job with that. Somebody already asked that 92. I don't know if Templars can repent the corpses. I do not know. I'm honestly not sure. But I didn't test that. So I don't really know. The next thing on the docket is the Elsweyr zone and dragon attacks. So in terms of like the Elsweyr zone and the dragon attacks, the Elsweyr zone was really nice. I liked it. I didn't really do any of the quests and stuff while I was there because I like to save that for when the game goes live. I like to save that for when it's a completely finished experience. And yeah, so I didn't really experiment with the overland content a lot, but the zone itself was really nice. The main city was good too. What I do like is that the dragon attacks were not static. They weren't like dolmens or geysers where they're in one place. They're not static. They can occur in different locations around the map, which is very cool. And then another thing that I liked is that the dragons are not easy. They are difficult. You do need a full raid party to kill them, and they were really cool to fight. It was a very satisfying fight. And it was the overland stuff. It was good. I liked it. They did a great job. There is a guild finder now inside of ESO. If you guys don't know, it's kind of something similar to what World of Warcraft has, where there is a guild finder, so you can kind of search guilds based on certain criteria. And they also expanded the guild system to also include blacklisting. So now if you kick someone from your guild and then, you know, they try to whisper somebody else to get an invite back, they can't do that anymore. You can now blacklist people from your guild, which I think is really helpful for guild owners. And we also had the Sunspire trial. That was something else that we saw. Sunspire was so fun, dude. Like, we only got to do it on normal. I wish we got to try it on vet, but yo, it was really good. Like, it was very Mauve Lorcage in essence. It was very Mauve Lorcage in essence, and it was just a very fun trial. The bosses were really interesting. They were really cool. They had very, very good-looking mechanics. And like I said, I really wish we got to try it on vet, because normal just isn't obviously the same experience. But it's a good trial. I think the trials people are really gonna like it. It's not like an arena type trial like Asylum or Cloud Rest. It's a full trial. Like I said, it's very Mauve Lorcage feel, which Mauve is one of my favorite trials in the game, if not my favorite trial in the game. So I think people are really gonna like it. In terms of new sets, we actually do have some new sets. I'm actually bring my screen back up. Let me actually bring my screen back up here. Yeah, fucking look at these ads, dude. Holy God. All right, so we have... These are some of the new sets that are coming. We have Call of the Undertaker. Let me freaking zoom in more. There she is. 4% healing taken. Max health. Healing done. And when you deal damage with a light attack, you apply minor lifesteal to your enemy for 8 seconds, healing you or your allies for 600 health every second while damaging them. This can occur once every 8 seconds. We have Claw of Yol Nakreen, which gives maximum health, gives you minor Aegis at all times, reducing your damage taken from dungeons and trial monsters by 5%. Adds max stam, and when you taunt an enemy, you give yourself and 11 group members minor courage for 15 seconds, increasing your spell and weapon damage by 129, and that's an 8-second cooldown. We have Cold Harbor's Favorite, which gives a line of maximum magicka, a line of maximum stamina, spell and weapon damage. And when you heal yourself or an ally, summon Cadwell's Noble Mount, Honor, who after 2 seconds casts a healing spell on you and your allies around him that heals for almost 13k health over 4 seconds. When you damage an enemy, summon when you damage an enemy, summon Cadwell's Noble Mount, Honor, who after 2 seconds explodes, damaging enemies around him for 13k over 4 seconds. Honor can only be summoned once every 10 seconds. That is interesting. That is very interesting. Huh. We have Magicka Hulking Draugr. Lots of maximum magicka. Eye of Navintas. So we have a line of magicka recovery, minor Aegis at all times, reducing damage taken from dungeons and trial monsters by 5%. Adds max magicka. When an ally activates one of your synergies, you and the synergy activator reduce the cost of your magicka and stamina abilities by 12% for 3 seconds. That is a 6-second cooldown. That's some sick healer tank synergy right there, boys. Let me tell you. False God's Devotion adds a line of spell critical, minor slayer at all times, more spell critical, and adds 129 spell damage, reduces the cost of magic abilities by 8%. When you kill an enemy, you restore magicka and gain major expedition for 8 seconds. So it's just magicka VO. Gonna be nice, I think, especially for something like Maj DK in VMA. So cool to see something like that. We have Centrot's Grit, 2% healing done, max health, 4% healing taken. After being damaged by a damage duration ability, increase your healing received by 6%, your physical resistance to spell resistance by 25-85 for 3 seconds. We also have Tooth of Locustes, maybe, is the pronunciation. Weapon damage, minor slayer, weapon damage, and when you activate a synergy, gain major slayer for 15 seconds. So it's a very selfish war machine. Vastery's Tutelage, health, stamina, and then you get magicka and stamina recovery from the 5-piece. I would have expected these to be higher for a 5-piece bonus, not just 129. Seems a little low. I don't know. Finally, we have Vesture of Darlock Bray. Magic recovery, stamina recovery, reduces the radius that can be detected while sneaking in 2 meters, reduces the cost of sneak by 10%, and while crouching, you restore 647 magic and stamina and heal for 698 every second. So those are the new sets. The next thing that I want to talk about is the new target dummy. There's a new target dummy. I'm allowed to talk about this. There is a new target dummy that's coming during Elsweyr. I don't know when. I don't know if it's coming with the patch or if it's coming in a following patch or something. But basically, okay, this gonna be, I'm telling you, boys and girls, there will be a new gold standard for parsing for trials with this fucking dummy. It is a raid buff dummy. When you attack this dummy, or like within its vicinity, you get fully raid buffed. Not only that, the target dummy feeds you synergies. It feeds you shards. So you can basically simulate and do a full raid parse without having to have somebody help you. And it's got a shit ton of health. So you could, like, it's not like you're going to kill it in 2 seconds because you're fully raid buffed. It has a shit ton of health. So I think that dummy is going to become the new gold standard for Trials parses. It was such a nice tool to have while you were there to test out things. And I really like it. I can't wait for it to come to the game. We will have one in the Dippin' Dots Guild House as soon as it comes out. I already talked about the Guild Finder. Real quick, 92 just donated 1,000 biddies. Gotta go, dude. I'll check out the rest of your stream tonight. Sorry, I gotta miss 45 minutes of Necro Fashion Theory Crafting you have planned. Yeah, thanks for the bits, dude. I appreciate you very much, man. Final thoughts is that Elsweyr is gonna be a really good chapter. They are really taking a step in the right direction. They are really balancing the game well. Necromancer was a ton of fun to play. The zone is really nice. The trial is super fun. I'm just very impressed, and I am very excited for the future of the game. Let me know what you guys think about Elsweyr in the comments section below the video. Let me know what you guys think. What are you most excited for? What are you guys least excited for? What are you guys nervous about? What are you guys hopeful for? I'm really excited for the Necromancer. I'm excited for Sunspire. Overall, I'm very confident in the direction that ZOS has taken the game. And going and visiting ZOS and hanging out with everybody has just gotten me more and more fired up for the Elder Scrolls Online in 2019. So I hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys like this breakdown, please leave a like on it. Also, please go check out the new and improved dotsgaming.com. I put a lot of work into it, and I really hope you guys like it. And if you guys want to show me some support, you guys can check out the support tab, and it shows a bunch of different ways where you can support the website and how you can support me and what I do. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you in the next one.